Hi guys, hope everyone is doing well. Let's have a quick look at the stock market and Bitcoin and a few other things. So stock market, as we know, 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 3 4, and we're going higher, and the target here is going to be basically 4209. Okay, so a lot of talk about a recession. I'm not even going to go into that, but obviously we can't have a recession before the stock market peaks, and the stock market still has got a little bit higher to go. So if you're waiting for a recession, you got to keep on waiting, maybe another couple of years as a minimum. Now, let's have a look on the ES. So short term, we were working the count initially as a 1 2 1 2. Now, as I said, there might be an alternate count which is more of a WXY, because this corrective sequence is looking very much like we got here. So this initial move down from 3000 all the way to 27.8 was similar to this move to here. This was a flat, and now this is looking like another flat connection. So I'm looking at another move down, possibly to take out these lows and possibly take out some of these stops. Okay, there must be stops sitting underneath here. What's that low? 2726, 2728. Yeah, so they've not taken out these stops. So I think there's a chance they could run these stops before they go higher, in which case we're looking at this, as I said in my last video, as a WXY, this then being the A, this then being the B and the C. Now, if we go deeper into this count, I'm trying my hardest to think of an impulsive count here, but I just can't do it. I can't connect that as a 1 and a 2 and a 1 and another 2. It's very, very difficult, only because this is very difficult to call a wave 1, and obviously the wave 1 can't be here because wave 2 cannot cross underneath here. Well, I suppose that could be a wave 1, A, B, C. That's just way too long relative to this. So the only way this can be impulsive is if there was a very small wave 2 here. That would be a 3 or 4, but then that would be an extended fifth wave. So to sum up, it just doesn't really work. So the only way this works is that that's a 1 2 3 A, 1 2 3 B, and now this is some kind of C wave, which obviously they've bear trapped everyone last night, and that looks like a 1, a 2, a 3 and a 4. Maybe we get one more now. That would mean a bull trap, and that, I think, would be a larger W. That's the way I'm reading it. That would then be a larger WX, and then it comes down in a Y. It might truncate here, but I have a feeling the stock market, as I said in my last video, still has got one more shakeout before it eventually goes higher with this election season, whatever. So I think there's one more shakeout. So that's the way I'm reading it. So let's just make that a smaller time frame. So that's the way I'm reading it. And if you just take the fibs, so there's your 0.382, there's your 61.8. I'm not sure if it gets this high, but I have a feeling there's one more push up before a very large dump of at least 5%. So that's my feeling here. And you can see here it's bounced off the 38.2. This is all within the remits of a wave, of a wave 4 basically. So yeah, I have a feeling they're going to take out these stops, run it up, trap everyone, and then they're going to run it back down. And the other thing which makes me think that is looking at the VXX, it's not quite hit my target yet. And why is it not selling off? So if the stock market was properly bullish, why is it not selling off? Why is the VIX not selling off? Why is the VXX not all the way back down at 22? It must mean there's one more push up here to 32, and this target as of right now hasn't been hit. Likewise with the VIX. You know, it just doesn't want to just doesn't want to sell off here. We're looking for this VIX to go back down to 14 again, as we've established. 14, 12, 13, 14 is now a normal baseline for the VIX, but why is it not selling off? And to me, that looks like a flat. So even with the VIX, I would say all of that is an A. That's an ABC, and I still think there's one more volatility spike here. I'm not convinced people have been shaken out of this market, and that's not how markets work. Markets have to shake everyone out before they go higher. So let's have a look at the Nasdaq before we go into Bitcoin. Yeah, Nasdaq is a similar sort of thing. So we're running that because I can't count that as a wave one. The only way to count it is a wave A, a B, and now C. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I think the next push up in the Nasdaq above these highs, I think it's a very good short, because that would be a C wave. And if you're going to short anything, don't get involved in B waves, get involved in C waves. Technically, it's going to be a Y wave, but either way, the concept is the same. Doesn't really matter. You want to short the Y waves or the C waves because they happen very, very quickly. So I expect some well-timed bad news here pretty soon. So I think this is a bit of a trap. So that's the way I'm reading it. And then with the Nasdaq, well, how low can it go? I mean, what are we looking at here? Let's just take a fib. Let's say it does that. Let's say it gets to my target 7813. So another 100 points or so. There's your 1-to-1. There's your 1. I'm not sure if it stays too long below 7,000, but that would be a 1-to-1. And have they taken out these stops or not? Let's just have a look on the Nasdaq. Actually, this is the wrong thing to look at, because this is not the actual contract. It's the NQ 6965. Yeah, so they've taken out these stops. So Nasdaq might not go that low, but it's just looking way too corrective. So I think, like I said, that would then be a W, some sort of X, and then some sort of Y. They might even take out this stop here, and then the only way to then count it is that all of that is a wave 1. This is now a WXY wave 2, and then we're going to come out of here vertical. So you're going to make all your money on the leverage long positions, basically. That's how you make your money in this game. Okay, so Bitcoin. So as I said in my last video, we were looking at mid to late August simply in terms of time. Now the question is, how do you read this? Are we still of the opinion it's going to go lower to complete a WXY? So that would be the larger count, and then this is either going to come down in 5 or come down in 3. So this was the count as I had it. It doesn't have to come down in 3, it could come down in 5. So rather than being an ABC, it could also just be a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That could also happen. But you know, there's a gap here at 85. There's very strong fib support at 78. And if we just take a 1-to-1 with this, let's just assume that's the top of the X. The 1-to-1 is at 8,000. So it would certainly make sense in a lot of ways for Bitcoin to break these lows. We've hit this level now pretty much 3 times. So the more times you hit a level, the weaker it gets. So if this continues to sell off like this, this could be a big shakeout going on here, and then it could complete its correction, then go higher. The only other thing I'm looking at is the inside candle business, which is still an inside candle. So if it finishes August in an inside candle, you want to be looking at the break. Doesn't have to break bullishly, but you're looking at following the break, and there's a chance they could actually trap people with this pattern, because everyone must be watching this. So if it finishes August above 9049 and below 13148, you know, that would be contraction of volume on price. So you're looking at for a break of either 9.5 or 10.3, and they could trap everyone to the downside first and then go back up again. So there's also that possibility, because everyone must be watching this inside candle. But yeah, it would make a lot of sense for various reasons for Bitcoin to go lower. But with Bitcoin, what you think is going to happen doesn't usually happen. But for right now, we're looking at this count to go lower, and that would make the most amount of sense. And as we've established, there are moving averages here which are working their way up. So that would be the 200 day. So that's the 200 day moving average at 7159. That's the 50. So it doesn't matter which moving average you sort of use here. Kind of tag the 200 here in the last bull run. So that would be a nice little tag, but that's all the way down here. So but yeah, ultimately Bitcoin is bullish, and it is eventually going to go higher. So not much to be said. So yeah, working that as a wave 1 and then a wave 2. So that would be the large account would then be, that would be a wave 1, and then we are assuming that's a wave 2, then obviously 3, 4, 5 to all-time new highs. But we need to build a course. So watch for the inside candle break, watch for the moving average support, and watch for this gap fill, which as of right now still hasn't been filled. Now all of the gaps on the futures have been filled. We saw here recently there was actually a gap as it gapped up that all has got filled, so it's a very good easy little short there back into that gap fill, and this is still an unfilled gap. So this is the only gap which as of right now hasn't been filled. So I think it's a little bit strange if Bitcoin makes its way to all-time new highs with at least by not filling this gap. That would just be a little bit strange. All it has to do is just drop another 3 or 4% and it's filled the gap. Technically the gap is as low as it needs to go in terms of the futures and repairing the futures market. It doesn't need to go lower than that. I still think it might go lower, but technically it doesn't have to. Once it's filled the gap, it's done what it had to do, which is to repair the market. This futures chart is very, very important because this is what's driving the market. It's not the Bitstamp or the Coinbase, whatever. It's Bitcoin, basically. It's the futures chart. Okay. Yeah, we had a look at Uber the other day. I'm not convinced it's bottomed out yet. I'm still looking at this. Well, everyone's looking at this as a long-term investment, trying to catch the lows here because it is a very good long-term investment. I still think it goes lower. Next target would be 30, 26, 25, and the lockup period is 6th of November. So you buy the rumor, sell the news, or you sell the rumor, buy the news. So I have a feeling, and also there's Fibonacci time support here in the first half or the first week of November. So I still think Uber goes lower before it goes higher, basically. So yeah, like I said, one more shakeout in the stock market. Possibly Bitcoin will be related to that. Aston Martin I covered last week. So the plan with this is just to hold until Christmas. This is not a trade. It's 100% by Christmas. So if you don't have any patience, then you're wasting your time in this game, to be honest. But yeah, that looks like an accumulation. That they've had one more shakeout, which is very typical of a Wyckofian accumulation, and now we're going to get a spring. So you want to look for a break off the 50%. So the 50% of the accumulation range, you want to be looking for that, and now we're looking for sign of strength, basically, where it continues to make higher highs and higher lows, basically. If I just show you in the volume chart, so we're looking for nice green volume to be coming in now. Yeah, so we're looking at this to make higher highs and higher lows, break through the 50% of the accumulation, retest the accumulation range, do a back test, and then we're looking at it for it to go higher. So this is more of a 4-month sort of hold, and we're looking at Christmas. That's not Christmas. Christmas is here, but you get the point. It's 4 months away, so we're looking at that to move 100%. But yeah, if you don't have any patience, then you're wasting your time. VXX we've covered, VIX, oil. I'm not really looking at that. Nasdaq. Let's have a look at the euro. I've not looked at the euro in a while. Has it broken apart yet? Yeah, there's not much to say on the euro other than it's going to go down. So I've been calling that ever since 1.1 1.25. So there's no way the euro is going to perform well with the dollar continuing to go higher, and dollar is just going to continue to go higher. So that really hasn't changed. Cable is, maybe short term it's bouncing off a key level of support. Obviously everyone would have their limit order here because it's bounced so violently off there, but just because it's bounced off a key level, it doesn't mean it's going to a rally. I mean, I still think cable might just end up going to, I don't know, 1.24 possibly. It's very, very high risk because of the dollar, and then just end up rolling over again, and then that would be the next level on cable, 1.16, and if that gets taken out, then we're going to retest the all-time lows on cable. You can't see it on here, but on one of the charts, I'm sure it got down to parity back in the 80s or something. That's not it either. I'm sure it went lower than this. Okay, that's forex.com, that's not it. FXCM, that's not it. Oanda, that's not it. Right, there you go, finally. Okay, yeah, so if it continues to go low, we're going to test the all-time lows from February 1985, which was basically, I mean, we've never hit parity with the dollar, but you're looking at this sort of range here. Yeah, that would make the most amount of sense. And then I suppose there's probably some fib correlation as well here. I mean, I did this target ages ago, so it must still be. Yeah, there's some 0.786 and 1-to-1 there as well. So yeah, I think cable eventually, if it continues to go lower and breaks these lows, there is no support until here, and that's the effect of the dollar basically. What's the New Zealand Aussie? Yep, so the dollar is appreciating against Aussie dollar, so Aussie dollar is also continuing to make lower lows. I mean, you can see here, so the next stop would be here, 0.59, and against the New Zealand, have I got New Zealand here? Yes, I do have New Zealand. Yeah, so you can see dollar is causing havoc on pretty much every other fake fiat currency. So yeah, the next level here would be 0.60, and then there's not a whole lot of support until here. So people are running away from their own currencies basically and going into gold, silver, Bitcoin, and dollar. Yeah, so gold is looking good. I kind of changed my bearish stance a couple of months back. Just looking way too bullish. From a technical perspective, it should have fallen, but because we're in this final melt up of all asset classes before it's all over, everything's going to melt up. So gold could easily end up at 2.5 or 3,000 or so. Silver, a little bit more careful. I would just run that as a flat pattern, so I would just run that as the A, that as the B. A little bit more careful with silver, but there's a chance we could double top here at $20. So there's still some more upside here to silver, but gold is the one everyone's looking for rather than silver basically. Spiders. Yeah, so we'll wrap it up there. So like I said, yeah, and that's the Bitcoin dominance chart. So, for the altcoins to get moving, you kind of need this to continue to go lower. So that's just something to watch out for, whether these altcoins make a comeback or not. If we finish off with ETH BTC, so this is a very frustrating chart. So, if it does go higher here, then you might get a temporary altcoin season. But this just needs to go higher. Right now, it's just looking corrective, and if it breaks these lows and breaks these lows, there's a chance this could still continue to go lower. So I mean, how low are these altcoins going to end up going? I don't really know, to be honest, but your next target is going to be here, which is at 0.013, and then it's going to be 0.007. So got to be very careful here with the altcoins, but if this does get moving, then there is a potential of movement, but technically the trend is still down because we're still making lower highs. So we need at least, this high to be taken out for this trend to change. But for right now, I suppose if you are long, that would have to be your stop. If that gets taken out, then we're going to go lower. So risk reward, it makes sense, but we'll have to let Bitcoin just finish doing its thing. And yeah, let's keep an eye on Bitcoin. But like I said, 4 to 6 week correction. We are beginning the end of August there. There is going to be a futures contract which is going to expire at the end of the month. So things will get very, very interesting in Bitcoin if and when it breaks this 9-1 level.